Welcome to the Lady Landlords podcast, where we empower women to gain financial independence through real estate investing. I'm your host, Becky Nova, founder of Lady Landlords. If you're ready to buy, manage, and grow your real estate portfolio, then let's get started.
Do you make the time and effort to meet other lady landlords and other real estate investors? In today's episode, we're going to be talking about why you should make sure to be participating in our events. So today with me, I have one of our lovely members and real estate investors, Yousra, who will be joining us. And she's going to be sharing a little bit about her experience. So Yousra, would you just like to start by sharing a little bit about who you are and kind of what brought us here today?
Hey, Becky. Yeah, sure. My name is Yousra, and I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. But I currently live in Dallas, Texas. I moved out here in 2013 for work because of the really high cost of living that was happening in New York City. It just didn't, it wasn't sustainable for me anymore. I work in IT, so I'm a systems business analyst, and I currently work at American Airlines here out here in Dallas, and I've worked in other industries like insurance and other airlines. I have a son, and he enjoys living out here in Texas. It's family oriented. There's a lot of stuff to do here, but he loves going back to New York to visit grandma and grandpa. And my sister, who's still out there, which she actually moved to New Jersey last year, but we won't say that. So I mean, I grew up out there, and I miss it. I miss it a lot. It's definitely a different pace and a different vibe than Dallas, but Dallas has been good to me.
Good.
Yeah. So
I'm happy. It's, sometimes we need to make sure to find the right fit for like what we're looking for, what our lifestyle kind of wants to be. And once again, like they always say, like, there's no place in the world like New York City, right? So it's going to be different, but I'm really happy to hear that you found a great place for you, and especially to be able to raise your family. I think that's kind of important here.
yeah.
So how did you get involved in real estate? Like, what brought real estate investing onto your radar to even start with?
So, I mean, growing up in an immigrant household in New York City from the 80s, we didn't even, the American dream is something everyone knows about, but when you're that young and when you're new, and we had a big family, it was not, it was something that seemed unattainable, right? But then you get older and you see other people doing it and you're like, wait a minute, so if you can do it, then maybe I can put that on my vision board. Maybe I can dream about that. And so I did, and I thought, kind of what got me out of New York. I was like, well, I mean, I don't have to have a home in New York City. I can move to New York City. America's so big, right? And when you're newly arrived in New York City and you live there all your life, you're like, what else is there? But there's other there's other states. So I had a lot of friends who moved out of state when they finished college. I went to school all throughout until I finished my bachelor's degree in New York City. So I went to Brooklyn Tech High School and I went to the City College of New York up in Harlem. So I had all my schooling out there, and I thought for sure I'm going to be there forever. But then when this dream of having my own home and owning my own home started to grow in me, I was like, well, maybe I can explore other places, and then coming out to Dallas and realizing that, this was, prices of homes here are very reasonable, and I can have more than one.
Yeah, exactly. It's a completely different beast buying property and trying to live in the lifestyle that we have in New York compared to a lot of other places.
Yes. So that was definitely, an aha light bulb moment that I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to, I don't have to limit myself. The possibilities are so great. I just need to expand my mind. And then also the landlording part, at one point I did need to bring in boarders to, people to rent rooms just to be able to make some financial goals. and I found myself enjoying it as well. I was like, oh, this is not as bad. I mean, everybody talks about like the psycho roommate and I didn't, I was like, it's okay. I set my boundaries right up front,
Right.
made sure to vet the people that I was allowing into my home because I do have a child, so I was very careful about that. And things for the most part were pretty smoothly. I did have situations that I had to learn to get through, but then once you get through them, you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
It's rough, but I got it. So give me what you got,
Well, that's our job as landlords, is really being those problem solvers and kind of going through some of those uncomfortable conversations. But each time a situation kind of arises, we get a little bit stronger on how we can kind of handle the next one. So it sounds like that was just, a way for you to get your feet wet. Now, when you said boarders, you mean like you actually were renting rooms in your home. So you kind of have those roommate tenants, right?
Room and board. Yeah. Yes. Roommates, boarders. I don't, I don't know what term you prefer. Roommates gives the impression of like, we split the bills equally.
And your buddies, right? Like I'm going to move in with my friend from college. We're going to be roomies, but you're renting to people you didn't know.
Yeah, people I didn't know, and I was providing, all the utilities and everything within their rent. So I consider them boarders, tomato, tomato.
Exactly. Well, that's why I just want to make sure to clarify for all of our listeners, the way that you said, because that's a lot of people ask, if that is a good idea, or like using that as an entry point, right? Sometimes we talk about house hacking is a great way that a lot of people get started. Buying multifamily, you live in one side, you rent out the other. But sometimes from a financial perspective, it's not possible to go and buy a multifamily. So renting by the room in your own home is kind of its own form of that. So it's interesting to hear that you started it. Would you recommend starting in real estate investing using boarders to somebody else?
I mean, it's dependent on everyone's situation. It took a lot of courage to put myself into that situation, have someone in my space, because they are in your space and they have a right to it because they are paying you rent. But like I said, you have to set the boundary from the start, and specify on your lease what they're entitled to and what they're not. And I was kind of winging it a little bit in the beginning, because again, it was a little bit of a financial hardship situation that got me to think of that, or got me to kind of pushed me into that. So that's how I got over the fear, because not doing it was kind of worse. So, I mean, that I would tell anybody who has that bravery, has that courage to, and also the level-headedness, like you need to be able to cooperate with people, even though you're the owner of the home, they have a right to it. It's their home now too. They're paying you rent, and depending on what state you're in, they have certain rights. And so, but I think most of the time it works out, and it can be a growing experience for people to learn other people. Most of us have lived with mostly family all of our lives, and a family can get annoying because they feel very entitled to your space. And if you're like me, I had a lot of, I'm the oldest of a lot of siblings, and we were in a very small New York City apartment, and yeah, I know what, everyone was in your stuff. So it's really irritating. So maybe that's also what got me through.
So you were probably used to it, right? Maybe then for you just to have one or two boarders was actually less than having all the siblings, right? Maybe this was actually easier for you, but you were also in a situation where it sounded like you felt comfortable and you knew kind of what you were looking for. And you were also able, and that's one of the things too about when there are certain exemptions to fair housing guidelines. When you are renting to somebody that's going to be sharing space with you and be in your home like that, you actually have the complete right to pick whoever you would like for that situation. You don't have to follow fair housing guidelines. So it's a little bit safer in that respect, that you can meet those people, screen those people, and make sure that they're going to be a fit for you to be sharing a bathroom and a kitchen with, compared to, hey, I'm renting a unit and they're going to have their own space.
Yes,
so
that sounds right.
A little bit better than for you to be able to screen from that, especially once again when you also have a son at home. Now, when people found out that you were renting your home and kind of inviting strangers in, right? I'm going to make this sound horrible, but when you told people like, oh yeah, it's me, my son, Oh, and then I have, Johnny over here that I met on the internet, kind of living in my extra room. Did people think you were nuts, or what was kind of the reactions you got?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like some people were like, well, can I come too? And some people were like, how do you do that? What do you mean there's a stranger? And but again, like I said, it was a situation that worked for me and that I needed at the time. And so I wasn't really looking for people's opinions that were negative. I only focused on people who were positive, like people who, for example, I don't know if you guys have this up there, but there's an app called Nextdoor that we use. Okay, so yeah, we got it out here, and I got a invitation one time in the mail from one of my neighbors who signed up, and they were, they send out invitations for people around you, and I signed up, and I was like, does anybody else rent to boarders in this area? And someone was like, yeah, sure, I've got a great lease if you want me to share. And I was like, oh my God, look at this. Like, if you tell the right people, they want to help you. If you form a community, you grow.
Right.
Because there are plenty of naysayers out there, and there are plenty of people who just don't understand your situation and think it's weird.
Exactly. And so we really have to kind of cut out the people that, one, we're not asking anybody, like those people aren't living with you. They're not paying your bills.
Right.
So you know what? Their opinion kind of doesn't really count for very much here in life. Then two, if anybody is not familiar with the Nextdoor app, it is a great app that you can download on your smartphone, and it connects kind of neighbors. So it's a great way to learn either about community events that are happening, or to learn about maybe to meet local contractors, plumbers, electricians, those types of things, and also kind of see what your neighbors are kind of doing. I have to say, it's kind of crazy, Yousra, that you're a New Yorker, because all the things you're saying right now, between the positivity, the community building, that's the bringing people together, is something that, New Yorkers, we tend to kind of be a little bit more known for sticking to ourselves a little bit.
Isolating, yeah.
And also your positivity and views on the world and people are usually not what you hear from a lot of us hardened New Yorkers over here. So it's a breath of fresh air for sure.
Well, let me tell you something. You're saying this out here. I am definitely a jaded New Yorker to these Texans. So it's very interesting when you relocate and you get to know the local people. You learn a lot about yourself. I appreciate your feedback, and it's refreshing to hear it from you.
Yeah.
But out here, I'm definitely considered a loud, obnoxious, jaded New Yorker. I have to watch myself at work.
Just because of how people see that.
Because they're a little extra out here to me. But yes.
You got to make sure to know your audience, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I thought it was so cool. So you and I actually got to meet in person, and we got to meet in New York. Now, I'm sure some of our listeners are like, but wait, Yousra just said she lives in Texas. So last year, I hosted at one of my rental properties. I actually opened up that rental property in my home to have a Lady Landlords event. And my intention with that is I wanted to show women in the group that, like, this is tangible, like this is real, like you could do it too. Let's come and take a look through my own rental property, right? And you decided to come in from Dallas. What made you decide, you know what, flight, time, energy, rescheduling things, time away from your son? What made you decide to do all of those things to come to that event last year?
Well, I mean, I had been following you for a while, especially because I was so my what I do now in real estate is Airbnb. So I have an Airbnb property, and I still take boarders into my personal home, but I have another property that I Airbnb room by room. And me and my sister had come up with an idea to pool our money together and buy a property in Brooklyn. She was still living in an apartment paying rent with two kids. And I was like, why are you living like this? Like, I moved out of the city a long time ago. Just get out. And she was like, no, this is, New York City. Like, I want to stay here. I want my kids to be raised here and the opportunities. I was like, okay, let's me and you get together and maybe we can find an investment. And I had been watching you for a while, and I loved what you were doing, and I wanted to meet you, and I wanted to meet your crew and your people. And it didn't end up working out. She moved out of the city, like I said, to New Jersey. So it didn't end up working out between,
Right.
us and our little plan, but I still got to meet you guys. And let me tell you, like, I've joined other groups, and especially out here in Dallas, because that's where I'm located. And so that's what's, more immediate to me. But your group definitely provides quality.
Thank you.
I can always depend on someone in the group, whether on Facebook or on one of the Zooms that we have regularly, uh, to contribute something positive to what I'm doing, and just in general, like the mindsets that I find in the Lady Landlords are really, like-minded people, and I love that. It's so important to like keep going in this industry.
Right. It's
Yeah.
kind of what you're talking about. We need that community. We need to be able to work together in order to move forward. And if all of us can just kind of give a little bit of information of something that we've learned to somebody else, we can all really be able to move forward. And it's just going to be easier, and it'll be more fun to do as a group and a community. So I appreciate the things that you're saying. So now you came to the event, right? So you flew in from Texas, you were able to make it up to the event in Westchester, New York. And what was it like then, just kind of like walking into this party of strangers? Because you hadn't met me, you hadn't met anybody else. We're internet friends, but now
Right.
we're making this reality. What was it like for you being like, oh my God, I'm gonna ring this doorbell and walk in this place where I'm not gonna know a single person?
It was fabulous.
I love that answer.
First of all, you know how to throw a party. That's number
Thank
one.
you.
So it was great from beginning to end. I still got my Lady Landlords cup.
Aw.
The favors, the snacks, um, everything was really cute and really
Thank you.
organized. But I felt home because New York is still home for me.
Yeah,
And again, and I I I almost already knew that everyone that came to your events would be, like-minded, a go-getter, friendly, want to help out, want to see other people succeed kind of personality. And
yeah.
that's exactly what I got there. And that's exactly what I tried to contribute. So from what I saw from you, I already knew and was certain that it would be a great event. And it was really, really, I still have
Aw.
contacts from there.
Can you let's do a couple shout outs. Were there
Okay.
some women there that you met, that you learned something from, that you stayed in touch with? Who were some of those people?
Oh, let me tell you. So, Yolanda is still,
Yes.
she helped me out. Who else?
How did she
Stacy,
help
I
you?
think. So my dad has a property in Philadelphia, and I needed some help, and she hooked me up with someone out there.
Oh, she was able to get you some contacts and things?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And
good.
you really put me on the spot, but
No,
there was
I
another,
know. I just thought that was, when you said that, I was like, that's such a great question. And then, so maybe if you
Sandra.
don't know, Sandra. Okay. And how did
Yeah.
Sandra help you? I know Sandra, she actually lives in the town where I grew up, oddly enough.
Well, she was just a really great spirit, and so we friended on Facebook, and she's someone that I follow. She's just a really great spirit. Like, she's just someone that's cool to follow and cool to see what's going on with her. Michael, your realtor, I called
Right.
him when I was planning with my sister, what to do, and he was like, here, call this, and he was so helpful. And it's unfortunate that I didn't get to use him, but
Yeah.
he was just on top of things and was really there and willing to, like, help me out with whatever questions I had, and I really appreciated that. And again, that's one of the reasons why I continue to follow you, because I know that all your recommendations are quality recommendations, tried and true, not just here, try this.
Yeah, I
So
mean, we have, for any of our members that don't know, you can actually go to our website at lady-landlords.com/resources. And I actually list out the people that I use. I
right.
find it, to me, like, if we find somebody, and a realtor is one of the most popular categories, where people say like, oh, I was just talking to a woman yesterday, and she was saying, one of her big problems was she didn't feel like her realtor was following through on this. She felt like, she wasn't getting like information back. And I said, I'm like, why not call mine? Like, mine's
Yeah.
great. I'm happy to share if we find somebody that we know is that we know, like, and trust, that's doing a good job for us, why would I not want to tell people who that person is? So I put, and that's actually how I've built our resource pages, is just by saying, like, these are legit the people I use. Like, you could talk to my financial advisor, you could talk to my realtor, you could talk to my lenders, whoever you need. Like, those are the people that are there because they're fantastic. So why not also, why are you going to go to the yellow pages, right? And try to find like a new person. And same thing, even if now, if it wasn't a contact that I specifically had, like you said with Yolanda, you were able to stay in touch with Yolanda. And then when you needed contacts in another place, you knew the person to ask. You're not just cold calling people. You now have this network built of saying, who do I know that can get me the answer of what I need?
Right.
Right. And that's probably going to save you a ton of time and energy of going through. I mean, let's talk about contractors, right? How many times are we taking chances on contractors and they want a ton of money? And sometimes I'll say too, like, their projects, I had to call a contractor yesterday and I was like literally reading to him the thing I needed because it wasn't a thing I was familiar with, but I knew, so I really had to put a lot of trust into that person. So I made sure I wasn't just going to call somebody randomly. I needed to make sure to check with Lady Landlords, who they were using in that area, who they trusted. And then that was the person that now I'm probably going to end up hiring. That's the whole point of this. Let's share resources and make everybody else's journey just that much easier along the way.
Right. Everybody wins. That contractor won, the person who recommended him won, and you won because we help each other rise. So it was, yes, that is definitely something that I appreciate about Lady Landlords.
Good. So then now you're at the event and you came by yourself. Did you feel like it was easy just to walk up to anybody else in the group and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. I mean, everyone there was like really in great spirits. I think it was like a little drizzly that day and we just didn't care.
There was a point. Oh my God, I know. I planned so hard for that day. We did it outside in my backyard, right? That was the whole idea of my backyard brunch here. And then there was like, 5-10 minutes there that it was just like, oh my God, how am I going to move?
But nobody moved. Nobody cared.
I was like,
we were all like, we're just having too much fun. We're learning too much. We're a little rain is not going to stop us. Like, we kept going. And that's how great the event was.
Aw. No, I loved it because I was like, I don't think I could fit all these women in my house, right? Like, it was too small of a property for 50 plus women that we had there that day. But it was really nice. Thank God we did not have a bigger rainstorm. I actually this year, so I'm doing actually another brunch event. I actually, since we've grown so much, I actually had to rent out space that way we can accommodate a larger group of women. So this year we actually do have a backup indoor space at the location. So we're actually going to be out. I wish you were able to make it this month. We're going to be out on the promenade on the Hudson River. So it's just be gorgeous. So a view of Manhattan, a view of the George Washington Bridge. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. But we do at least have a backup space. So I'm happy to tell you about that. But and that'll just kind of continue as we grow, you know, that we just needed more space. I mean,
can't wait to see it.
We've grown about tenfold since last year, since last August, which is crazy. So more space, that's fine. I am perfectly happy. I love putting on my parties. I love planning events. And I love just getting to meet everybody in the group. I think that's actually one of my favorite things. Because we can have these internet connections, but what's so cool is that, like, I physically got to like hug you. I got to actually like meet you. Exactly. And it was just so nice to be like, we've talked all the time, you know, through like the Facebook group, or sometimes like, you know, we might have emailed back and forth, but it was just so nice to be like tangible human, like, love this. It was great to have that connection, especially after that whole pandemic thing for the past 2 years.
And I've been working from home. I've been working from home and it's like, I want people. Like, I'm used to riding the subway with like people all over me.
Exactly, like a little sardine can. And
now I'm all isolated. So yes, it was definitely nice to get out there and see others and talk about a topic that we were all passionate about and love.
Well, that's also the other cool thing. So now we do, and I know you can't fly up every month, but as some of our listeners may know, we actually do 2 networking events every single month. We do a locals event in New York, and we also do a monthly virtual meetup. So if any of our members would like to join either of those events or this upcoming brunch that I'm sharing, which will be on Saturday, August 27th, Please do make sure to head to lady-landlords.com/events. I'll put that link down in the show notes. So that way you can kind of come and connect. But what I think is so cool is that we're all coming for that same reason. We're all real estate investors, or maybe you're a service provider, right? We have other people that can help us. Those roles will actually be joining the group as well. But what's really cool is that sometimes we can actually talk about things beyond just the real estate, right? And there's so many other things that like us women have in common besides just, hey, this deal. And I feel like that's where I get to see these relationships kind of go beyond real estate investing. That might get us all in the room, but there's other things that are actually going to keep us coming back, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's why I love that you were able to really kind of connect and like stay in touch. I think that's really cool. I didn't know that you were staying in touch with some of the women, but I'm really happy to hear that. So for anybody that's on the fence about deciding if they want to come to our summer soiree here on August 27th, what would you say to that person to help them decide if they should make it or not?
Just get up and go. I mean, you can't go wrong. At the very least, you're going to have some great appetizers. I know that for sure.
I'm not cooking this year. So ladies, last year, I actually cooked for all 50 women. Now, some of you may know I used to own a restaurant in Portugal, so I actually love cooking. But last year, I actually cooked for all 50 women that came to the house. This year, we're doing it at a location and somebody else will be doing the cooking, but it'll still be made with love, right? And
it was great, by the way. All right. But yeah, so I mean, get up and go. You cannot go wrong. No one there is going to, make fun of you or mock you. Everyone there is helpful. At the very least, you'll get some appetizers. I mean, I don't know what to say. I love these networking events. Like this is how I thrive, because I need people around me who are thinking in the same direction that I am to gauge myself and know,
Right.
And if you're brand new and if you never started, this is the place to go to get you hyped up and say, hey, I mean, look at these women, like they're doing this and they're killing it. I could do it. I'm sure I could reach out and someone could grab my hand and, give me some encouragement. So.
Right. What's really cool about the events is we always have a few people that come every kind of event, right? So I always get to see the same people, and it's so great getting to catch up with them and what they've accomplished month to month. Then we have people that maybe I haven't seen in 2-3 months that are kind of coming back, right? So it's always nice to then see like what kind of progress they've made. And then the third group we have is we always have a group of new people. There's always somebody new that I haven't met that is coming out for the first time. And it's just so cool then, now that we've been doing the events for a little over, for 2 years now, August will actually be our 2-year anniversary of the event, to see them now coming back and then the relationships that they've built between each other and how cool it is that they can kind of say to each other that now, Yousra, if you came to the event, I could be like, oh, great, this is Yolanda over here. Oh, no, I know Yolanda. We've been in touch over the past year. And then you guys can actually just have your own kind of catch-up session in addition. And what also is cool is we have people that are seasoned investors that are coming, that have owned apartment complexes, larger units for years. And then we have people that are like, I just found you on Meetup yesterday.
Yeah.
What is this all about? That are complete newbies to real estate investing. So we really have people from each point.
So let me tell you something. For those who are like you said, on the fence, that is the like true value of going to these networking events. A lot of these like bigger investors who are experienced and seasoned, they will not even let you get near them. You can't even talk to them without, paying for coaching or whatever. When you go to these networking events, you get a little bit of access to them to say, hey, I like what you're doing. Where can I start? Like, look at me and see where can I start? And you'd be surprised. A lot of people are, they love to help. They're willing to like give you even tidbits of advice to get you started. And that's so powerful, and it goes such a long way if you're really motivated to do this journey. So that's one of the biggest things, like if you're on the fence, and if you're one of the big investors and you're like, why should I go to this? Like, is it going to be really that great? You'd be surprised the kind of people that you see there, what people are willing to offer in exchange for that expertise. Like there's just there was such an array of people, of women that, some of them do this full time, and yeah, you had your fair share of realtors in there, but there was a lot of women who were like, they've got full blown like day jobs and you know, and different industries, and they're just,
Right.
you know, investing on the side. And it's like, wow, like you're doing this, you know, and you're like, what, a single mom like me, and you're, you know, you're doing this other job in the daytime, and I
And
mean,
hustling at night. And we even had one of our members, she brought a baby to the event, right?
yes,
Because that was, she knew she needed to be there. And it was interesting to me. It's like, I got like a message being like, hey, can I bring my baby? And I'm like, we're a
I think
women's
two
group.
couples, I think there were two couples that brought babies with them.
Yes. Oh, there was, you're right. There was a
Yeah.
second. But you know, and it was just really nice to be like, well, we're a women's group. Like we would like you know, I'm assuming that there's a lot of moms here, you know, but it was really nice to see how people, and some people were like, no, this is mommy's day out. Right.
Yeah.
Because remember, I had that full mimosa bar last year. So, you know, that was kind of mama's day out. This year we're doing margaritas. This year it's a margarita party and a taco party. But, you know, last year it was kind of that decision, but like, there's nothing wrong that if somebody was like, hey, the way for me to make this work, you know, I am a mom, like this is something like I need to bring my baby. I was like, bring your baby. Okay. Like, that's what I would kind of expect. So I'm really happy that you had that experience. I'm really happy that you were able to come and connect, and that you actually have a year later, still these lasting relationships. So
Yes.
fill us in on what you are currently working on within your own real estate investing portfolio.
So things kind of took a lull for a while, but I am looking for a multifamily in Houston right now to turn into an Airbnb as well. I went down there. So I'm in Dallas. Houston is about 4 hours south of me driving. And I got to visit it because I was dying to see the ocean. Dallas is really landlocked, and you know, in New York, you have the Hudson River, you have the East River, you have the Atlantic. I was dying to see the ocean, and I put my son in the car. I was like, let's go to Galveston and just look at the ocean. I actually saw a dolphin down there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I drove around a little bit, and I was like, this is a cool city. Houston is a pretty cool city. Contacted some people that I know down there. They talked to me a little bit about how Airbnb is doing down there, and it's actually doing really great. And I connected with an investor, took a workshop with him, and he was showing us around to his Airbnbs, and he's doing some really good stuff. So I'm thinking of partnering with him maybe, and trying to break into that multifamily space, but use it as an Airbnb, because I like Airbnb and I have my stuff set up for that.
Yeah.
So I might want to stick to that. But
Okay.
that is my next goal. I can't say that I'm there yet, but that's what I'm looking at next.
Okay. We might have to have you come back on then when you move forward with that next project, and kind of fill us in on what happened, how you got it, and kind of what that Airbnb looks like. So we'll keep that in mind.
Good. Now that lights a fire under me, because it's like, I got to get this done so I can get back on Becky's podcast.
No,
Because it's so
definitely.
hard. It's so hard. That's the other thing. It's so hard to like keep your goals, in check, and just when you got so many things going on, it's like, but yes, I appreciate that, keeping me accountable.
Exactly. I'll keep you accountable along with the other 30,000 women we got in the Lady Landlords group, right? Go,
Okay.
if you have not, either Yousra, but any of our listeners, go and write your intention. Make a post in Lady Landlords and write your intention of what you plan on doing, right? Then that way you are going to have a ton of accountability buddies now, making sure that you're going to follow through on those things you say. So just see that power of what happens when you put it out in the universe and you tell other people you're going to do it, right? If we don't tell people what we're going to do, if we don't do it, then nobody knows. It's not like we failed because we didn't tell anybody we were going to go buy that other property. But if you want to get some action and get some things moving, make a post in Lady Landlords and tell us your intention. All right. That's now your homework. You got to do that now too, Yousra. You inspired me, so now you got to do it.
I just put myself in a spot.
Exactly. But good. Right. So keep us updated. Let us know how that Airbnb sounds and how that goes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Ladies, thank you very much for joining me for this episode of the Lady Landlords podcast. Please do make sure to hit subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, or if you're watching us on YouTube, do make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Otherwise, if you are interested in joining us on Saturday, August 27th for our next co-ed event that we're actually doing, please do make sure to see the link down in the show notes. And you can also learn more at lady-landlords.com/events. Thanks so much, and see you next Tuesday for the next episode of the Lady Landlords podcast.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're feeling stuck in your real estate journey, visit lady-landlords.com/roadmap to book a one-on-one workshop with me. I'll help you determine your next best strategy. Or you can subscribe to our newsletter for exclusive tips and offers. Invest with confidence. Become a Lady Landlord today.